Aha, okay, I nearly did not get on air for reasons I don't know, but now I'm okay. Aha, now I think I'm all right. My mic is okay. Everything is just in good enough. Yes, 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 yes. It's in good enough situation. That you are able to pick me up as I am I'm getting on air. Yes, yeah, aha. Oh, Piwe, Amanda, Ziba, you are ukhona kanti mntanam, you are good now that we can hear you. I'm glad, Kentombi. I was just a bit worried because when you get into a brand new studio, you have been away for 5 weeks, Piwe. Yeah, and it's only Piwe who have been sitting on this desk. And I come in and then everything is new. I'm not sure whether I'm live and I keep pressing this and that. I'm waiting for the guest. The email is not working and I try to talk to the guest and so on. Your response has just given me some life. Thank you that you are alive and that you are here to let me know. Yeah, thank you very much, Piwe. I appreciate that, Mdanam. I know what's going to happen. God is going to bless you a million times and is going to enlarge your sphere of influence, and there will be no evil that will come near you. And let me tell you the last blessing that I want to give you. You will never, never settle for the second best. God bless you, Piwe. All right. Listeners, this is Born to Lead, and my name is Caesar, and this is your show at KNR, and we normally do radio according to you. We have never changed. Even the times that I've been away, we still do the radio according to you. It was amazing. I was in another country, and in that country, and there was no other radio. I mean, even the language spoken is French mixed with German. I could not pick up anything. I tried to tune in our hotel room, the TV, but the TVs don't get to DSTV. They don't get to SAPC. There was nothing that connects me, not even those audio channels that I'm told you could find international, all other radios on audio channels. One radio that was still open for me to listen to, it was KNR. It was then that I enjoyed Abo Piwe and the rest, Abo Mamfene, and the rest of you guys. You entertained me for all the weeks I spent in Mauritius. And then I confirmed that KNR is international. Everywhere you are in the world, you tune in so easily. You don't struggle. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to tune to KNR. You just punch KNR and you are there and you see them there. It was so good. I even remarked on some of other shows, in the morning. It's just that our times were different. We were 2 hours ahead and then you are 2 hours behind. But still, I could think, okay, if I am at 8 o'clock, then it could be 6 o'clock. Kumafene must be coming in. Then I could tune in and then be able to say some few little things and so on. It was good. Thumbs up, KNR. You are truly global. Global indeed. I can testify to that. Yes. Now, today I'm expecting a guest, a very important guest, a learned friend, a lawyer, an advocate, and a child of God. And we're going to talk because week beginning next Monday is known in South Africa as Wills. Wills, that is WILLS, Wills Focus Week. And most the research or what is it? Yes, has proved that most South African, particularly black ones, they don't take the issue of the will very seriously. And most of them die or pass on this world without a will. And the government is doing its best to see to it that there is some kind of assistance that people get in as far as wills is concerned. So I've been rushing to make this show because I've got an appointment with a learned friend, and we are going to talk about Wills Week and how to get and who is eligible to write a will and how to get a will and all the stuff and things like that. But I don't know if I am not winning in getting my friend come on board. And if that is the case, I will have to jump the StreamYard, get to radio again, and try to re-invite my friend, my learned friend, because the entire time is scheduled for me to have a talk with my friend. I rushed on the road. I was driving from KZN so that I don't miss the appointment. I came in rushing and knowing that I will be talking up with a learned friend who happens to be my child, and when happy on a very important subject. Abapulapuli KNR, they deserve to hear this. They really deserve to hear this. I'm going to do whatever that I can do to get them to hear what I'm doing. Yes, let me pick up Kit, and then I will have to. Taban? No, I was struggling to get Unasik, but Upiwe has told me, Guti, I am, he could see me. Upiwe was alive and looking at me right now. He could tell me that I'm online properly because I was fiddling up with the buttons, not knowing if I've pressed everything okay. The most troublesome thing was getting the link to my guest, because I've got a guest. Since it's a Wills Week next, starting tomorrow, we wanted to talk on that subject because I believe our listeners deserve to know more about Wills Week, but I couldn't. It looks like our email is not working. Is there any problem? Oh, don't worry. Okay, don't worry. Don't worry, there the guest is. I'm okay. Let me just welcome the guest. Thanks a lot, Taban. Just check if everything, check if you could see me and just and write a message just below the POS message. Sure, thanks. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, Bapulapul, to have just spoken out of 10. It was important. Like I've said, Upiwe, who understands me so well, he said, no, Dada, you are on board. You are okay. We can hear you loud and clear. I was saying, I'm coming for the first time after about 5 weeks of absence, and then we have moved locations. We are on a new location, and then things are not as I left them when I left, and I'm not a young man. I'm not as young as Upiwe, for example. Before there was Piwe, I was there, so I cannot quickly get on board. Excuse me, my listeners, for that bit of glitch on the kickstart. I'm glad my guest is on board. Welcome, Danam. If there could be some more light where you are. You look a bit like you are in the middle of the night with load shedding on, and if you can come on board and let there be some light so that our listeners could be able to see you. And I was before I was trying to connect you so that we are both on the airwaves. I was telling our listeners that they really deserve to hear this. It's important. It's a life issue that we ought to talk about on this station, KNR. There is no way that they could miss our show today. So I battled very hard to get you connected, and I'm glad that finally you are connected. Oh, right. And now I want you to feel welcomed, feel free, and be at home. I am not going to play any song because we are already 24 minutes past 7 o'clock. And we are left with about 35 minutes to finish up our show. So I will just welcome you on the show and say, feel free, be part, and let's do radio according to you and according to our viewers and according to our listeners. We are having both viewers and listeners at the same time while we are on radio, but we are also on a where people can see us, just like you know that. Let us begin and talk about our subject. And the subject is, I thought today it's a day preceding the beginning of the Wills Week. And then I think the Wills Week I stand to be corrected. I think it begins tomorrow. Then if it does, then the onus is on us to alert our listeners, to make them know the importance of this. I can bet my last dollar 90% of people listening to us this evening don't know that tomorrow is the beginning of the Wheels Week. They don't. And then the week will go and pass without being utilized, not because people are not keen to make use and take advantage of that, but because they don't know. And radio is the best information media that people need to tune in to be able to get on board on what we are trying to broadcast today. Now, on that note, Mtanam, let's begin to hit the waves. Tell me at first, begin to introduce yourself and greet our listeners and tell all of us who you are and what you do in life. And then after that, we will get on. Over to you, Gemukondi.
Good evening to you, Dada, and to all your listeners.
My
name
is soft. I don't know whether my things are softer. I hear you very faintly on my ears here. You are not as loud as I am. Can't you pull up whatever the volume or something like that? Can you come back again? Unless our listeners can tell us if they can hear you clearly. But on my earphones, you are not very loud enough. Okay, go on, Mukondi. Speak again and let's see if you are okay. Yeah, we are repairing things and I'm getting on board. Yeah, okay, sure.
A very good evening to you, Dada, and to all your listeners. I'm trying to be as loud as possible. I don't know if it's helping. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you, but I hear you very faintly. And let me pull the main volume again. Let me increase this one. And but the good news is that I can hear you, and I'm not sure if the broadcast on the outside, that means to the listeners, is it louder than it is on my earphone, and because I can't hear you well on my earphone. And but let me check what other thing need I do to see to it that the volume is increased here from your side. Okay, go on anyway, because I could hear you. It's just that I know your voice to be clear and audible, and then I could feel that the one I'm hearing is not the voice that you have. Okay, let me pull up the speakers here to go up. Okay, talk again. I pull it to 100.
Okay, good evening, Dada. Is that better?
Good. Now you're all right. Yeah.
Okay, a very good evening.
Yes, and the Kitngesi radio is saying you are also loud and clear. They can hear you clearly, and I also can see you clearly. That beautiful lustre of you is just showing up so nice, you know. Okay, go on.
Perfect. Now I'm glad, Dada. A very good evening to you and to all your listeners, Dada. As you've already said, my name is Mukondereri Masiza. I'm an attorney by profession. My experience spans across various fields of the law, but my primary experience lies in the areas of public liability insurance, the casualty space, as well as general civil litigation. I'm also your daughter-in-law, or we say daughter-in-grace.
Grace. Yeah, the daughter ever means that. I don't have a daughter-in-law. My daughter is Grace.
Yeah, no, I won't get it wrong next time. So I'm also your daughter-in-grace. I'm married to Pastor Anele Masiza, and together we have two beautiful little boys, Ulitemba Nolikuwe Masiza. That is me in a nutshell.
I don't have anyone. They are the ones and the only ones I have. Hoping that the Lord is going to remember me with others as the time goes on. Okay, let's go on again, Dada.
Yeah, so that's pretty much me in a nutshell, Dada.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mdanam. I think we have heard you and the listeners have heard you, and I think we need to go on and utilize the remaining minutes before our show is over. We might get a little more than 8 o'clock should it happen that we have not yet finalized things. And the good news is that it was critical that we have our talk today, because the Wheels Week, as far as I think, begins tomorrow or it has started today, but you just have to confirm that, because I am not a legal practitioner. I might not be knowing how things happen, but the information is for KNR listeners. Wherever they are, they ought to know about this. We owe it to them. That's why we have taken this program on StreamYard as well as on YouTube, so that people will keep on picking this even in the week to come, and then and be able to catch the discussion that we have made, and then we become a source of information, because our pillars is to entertain, to educate, to inform, and we are a content-driven radio station, so we can't miss a good content. Come rain, come sunshine, we do the best we can to come to that. Now, I would love you to first confirm when does this week starts, and when does it end, and what does it actually mean? What is a Wills Week? What is it for? What does it actually mean? So that we just introduce it just briefly to all of the people before we talk about the other details on will and taking will and something of the sort. Okay, go on.
Okay. So before I go into detail on what a will is and all, I'm just gonna confirm that the Wills Week that does start tomorrow. It's gonna run for the entire week. Friday will be the last day, and
Tomorrow
what the Wills Week, yes, Monday to Friday, and what the Wills
Week over South Africa, or is it in Gauteng only?
It's all over South Africa, Dada. It's
Islam is accommodated in that.
Yes, definitely. And later on, I'll give some details on how one can go about actually taking advantage of the Wills Week wherever it is they're based in South Africa.
Yes.
So, Dada, what the Wills Week pretty much is that it's an initiative by the Law Society of South Africa, whereby the Law Society encourages attorneys from across the country to come forward and actually offer the service of drafting a will to members of the public at no cost at all to the person for whom the will is being drafted. So it happens every single year. It's normally during the months of September. Sometimes it's October, but the listeners can mainly look out for it every year around September. So that's what the Wills Week pretty much is. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that this coming week, anybody who's listening to us right now can go onto the Law Society's website to find out which attorneys in their area are taking part in the Wills Week, and then contact those attorneys, set up an appointment, and go and get their will drafted for free.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for that. That is elaborate. That is the information that's basic enough for every Tom, Dick, and Harry walking in the street to pick around this issue of Wills Week and understand what it is all about. But I still have a question. And, you said during the Wills Week, and this is an initiative of the Law Society, if I remember from what you have just said, and that attorneys can draft wills for people at no cost at all. Generally, if it is not Wills Week, roughly, how much do people pay to get their wills drafted and lodged or whatever, or something like that? Because I want people to understand there is an advantage that could fly off if they are not awake.
Yeah. So generally, that depending on the practice, where it's based, and also the legal professional who's offering the service, people can expect to pay anything up between 900 Rand to 1,500 Rand for a consultation and the drafting of the will. It would be a brief consultation, and then the drafting of the will itself. And then for the attorney, for instance, after the will is drafted, members of the public have the option of either leaving the will in the care of the care and custody and control of the attorney who's drafted it, or taking it home. Normally, Dada, if ever an attorney is going to keep your will for you, there is an annual sort of fee that one would have to pay for the will to be kept by that attorney. It's not an exorbitant amount of money. It's either a couple of rands or a couple of 100 rand, the same way, round about the same amount that one would pay if the bank were rendering that kind of service. So by taking advantage of the Wills Week, I'd say that, the client is saving, up to 1,500 rand.
Beautiful. I'm glad of what you have said, but I want to represent the most, I'll hate to use the word, the most ordinary civilian. I don't want to use the word the most ignorant person about this, in case ignorant is an insult. Let me just say the most simple, ordinary layman in the street. So if I've heard you well, you are saying that during the Wills Week, we can walk into any attorney's office and ask them to help us draft the will. And then they can draft the will, and then the decision is still on me if I'm an ordinary South African citizen for, after the will has been drafted, to lodge the will or to leave the will at the care of the attorney to be the ones who will administer my will or something like that.
Yes.
Or on the same attorney who drafted the will. But if I don't want it that way, after the will has been drafted, I'll say, give me that will. And then I run with the papers to whoever that I like and say, now I can take it to my bank. I can take it to any institution who are authorized or maybe who are legally, who have a legal status of managing wills and stuff, because I know you cannot take will to anybody else. I cannot take my will to a butcher, for example, or maybe to somebody who sell cars. There are those people who legally can administer wills. Then I can take it to anyone after it has been fully drafted. And if I've also picked you well, is that when the will is now lodged to the attorney or to the institution of my choice, and I will just pay an annual fee, which is not a very exorbitant amount of money for them to keep on keeping my will as much as they do so, and something like that. This is what I think I have picked up from you. Oh, right. Thank you very much. Unless there is something I've said incorrectly, please feel free to correct me on that, because I try to represent the simplest of our listeners so that they benefit from our discussion, because it is a matter of life and death in the sense of the word.
Yeah.
So we take it very lightly. We definitely address every detail on it, because some lives of people will hinge on our discussion. Possibly we are the only people who give them instruction and tuition and teaching on this subject as we are speaking here. So I would love that we are very much accurate of our talk. We don't say anything that we are still trying to find out what something that we know that we speak in here. Thank you very much for what we have shared so far, but I would love to prompt you further and to explain some few little things. Sorry, because our discussion tends to be very much informal, but I believe it is very important. Yes, and I could see some people walking in, others saying, have a wonderful day and so on. They just try to acknowledge that they are watching and so on our screens here, Now, let us go on, Mukondi, and try to explain to all the listeners what is a will and what is the advantage of having a will and what is a disadvantage of one passing on without a valid will. And what is a valid will and what is an invalid will? I don't know if there is a will that is not valid, but I would love you to, I know I'm asking too many questions at the same time. Pick up yourself the order with which you could address these concerns that I have raised, just the description of what a will is, and also the legitimate age at which one is it for us, the older generation, that must take a will, because we know we have exceeded our half time, I'm not anticipating that I will still be lingering around for as many years I've lived up to now. Maybe the years left in my life are not as many as those that I've already. That's why I'm saying I've gone beyond my half time, and maybe is it the only us that ought to think about a will, or can other people as well? What is the age that's permitted to have a legal will, and what do we mean if we say the will is valid and legitimate? And then all the things that I've tried to raise as I feel could be the concern of our listeners as we are speaking today. Go on, Gemdanam, take us on board.
Thank you very much, Dada. And I've heard all the questions that you've asked, and I'm just going to take each one by one, step by step, so that we don't lose anybody along the way. Yeah. And just regarding Dada, the beautiful summary that you gave, everything that you said is 100% correct.
Sure,
the only thing that I just want to maybe provide a clarity on is the issue of taking the will that the attorney has drafted and leaving it with the bank. Sure. The bank, Dada, I don't believe that they'll accept that as a final will. Testament of the testator, simply because the bank has their own procedures in place for the drafting of wills. They offer that service 100%, and they're going to want to offer it in full, Dada. I don't believe that they'll accept a will that was drafted by somebody else and then keep that will. Yeah. So it's one can always go find out from their bank, how exactly it is that the banks go about it and everything that applies there. But from my understanding, Dada, the legal fraternity and the banks, they don't marry as far as this topic is concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, but otherwise, definitely one can take their will to, any other person who, is capable of, carrying out the testator's wishes. But we're going to get to that, Dada, as I take the listeners through the issue of wills in greater detail.
Let's move immediately and try to mention all different kinds of people that are eligible to take the wills and manage the wills of people and things like that. I mean, if a person has already drafted a will, to whom, what other alternatives besides taking it to another attorney, if there are many others as well who the law permits to be able to become whatever that you call the people who handle the will,
Yeah, the executor.
Yeah, or the executor, correct? Yeah.
Yes. So the thing is this, that one can either take their will to, an executor. It could be, some people even leave it with their broker, their financial advisor, who is not with the bank, but, their personal financial advisor who advises them on various aspects of their finances. Others that choose to keep it. And what I have done in the past with my clients, Dada, is that because a will is a very sensitive document, and I haven't even come in to say, what a will is, but I'll just touch on it a bit, and then I'll then tell our listeners what a will is. But because it's a very, very private sort of personal document, you don't want to leave it lying around where, like for instance, Dada, let's say you have a will. You don't want to leave it paikaya where, all of us can just see it, and just read through it to see what you're leaving and, to whom you're leaving it, because it would be quite premature, for anybody to get hold of that information. So what I've done in the past, Dada, with my clients is, because we find a lot of the time somebody passes away, nobody knows that the person has a will. So people are running around like headless chickens, trying to figure out what they're going to do now that this person has passed away. So what I will do is, there's this letter that I prepare for my clients that says, "Dear so-and-so," whoever it is that they want to address it to, this is just to let you know that I have a will, and that this is where my will is. It's with this person or this institution. And in the event of my death, please contact so and so. So I would do that, for instance, for my own law firm, where I'd say, dear so and so, please note that I, so and so, have a will dated and signed on this date, and that my will is with Mukondeleri Masiza of Matumba Masiza Attorneys. In the event of my death, please contact Mukondeleri at this email address, this phone number. It just makes things easier, because then people know that there's a will, but they don't necessarily know what's in the will.
Good. This is very important thing that you have just shared, Kondele. I thank you for just saying it in the way in which you have said it, because most people could have questions like, what if I have a will, but it's discrete, it's my personal understanding, and now I happen to pass on, and then how will people know that I have a will, where the will is, and how can that executor begin to make the other beneficiaries of my will get to understand, and so on. But you have explained it so well. Thank you so much, because it was also very important for me that you explained that bit and so on. Let me just say it in advance that we will still, if you might make some time, that next week on Sunday again, and almost earlier than this time, say between 6 and 7, and begin to explain a lot. We just wanted to talk today with the understanding of the Wills Week, what it means, why should people take advantage of it, what advantage that they are getting in utilizing the week as it is set up, its expiry date, when it starts, and so on, and then what they do about it. I mean, the information that we are discussing. I think by next Sunday, we need to get into some bit of deeper details about the issue of wills and give our listeners more education about it. Me and you, we have to admit that most of our people know very little about the issue of wills. Even if they do, they don't feel that it's one of the important things. And some maybe think that they still have got a lot. People behave like they know their days on earth. They think that they are still gonna live a little longer, and therefore they should not rush getting a will. And so many postpone the idea, because no one thinks about his passing over and death, and everybody hates to accommodate thoughts about passing on and so on. So people pretend as if they will be around for eternity, and yet these are important things that they should be mindful of in life. That is why I feel if we give a little bit of elaboration on the education on wills and things like that again next week, when God affords us time, and then take another hour and give another education, particularly on the things that we have not raised today, and on a number of other things. But as of now, I want you to move on and tell me who, at which age, who must have a will? Is it for rich people who have millions and millions at the bank and big houses and so on? If a person is just an ordinary human being who has the little enough to cover his body and to put a plate of food, that person can have a will? Who must have a will? And at what age can a person be permitted to draft a will or something like that? Who must?
Okay, so Dada, the first thing that I'd like to do is to answer your previous question, which was regarding what a will is, and then in answering that, I'll then get into who should actually have a will. Beautiful. And who can get a will drafted. So a will, Dada, is it's a specialized document containing instructions about the distribution of an individual's property upon their death. So in there, it includes the nomination of an executor who will deal with the will and will deal with the estate, the distribution of the deceased's property upon their death. It's also a way of, giving effect to freedom of testation. Freedom of testation is pretty much just to say, when I pass away, I have the choices to who actually gets the stuff that I've accumulated during my lifetime. So any person that are aged 16 years and older who is mentally capable of appreciating the consequences of their actions at the time of making the will is competent to make a will. For a will to be valid, it must be executed and witnessed in accordance with certain legal requirements. So earlier, Dada, you mentioned what actually constitutes a will. Is any old piece of paper, can that, if I just take a piece of paper and I'm like, oh, when I die, I would like so and so to get this and that, if that is enough. Unfortunately, that would not be enough to be regarded as a will, simply because it wouldn't comply with the requirements that are needed for a will to be valid. So can I take you through?
I don't know that what has happened that has caused you to disappear while you're talking, but I'm trusting that you will show, because there's a wheel that is rotating there, like you are still sinking. I know these load shedding things can do a lot of pain in terms of our data. And then I've lost my guess, but not really a great loss. I'm trusting that is going to show up after a second or so. It looks like they just got on load shedding on that side, and then and while we are we are not on this side. But I trust that they will manage to make a plan so that they get enough data to come on board again. Yes, and are completely lost. And but I'm glad just we have managed to say some few things. Listeners, I would love to recap for all of you. I know to some it will sound like a broken record. It's something that they know. The reason why we are hosting this show this evening today is because the Wheels Week in South Africa begins tomorrow, and it starts on Monday and ends on Friday. So Monday to Friday is the Wheels Week, and during Wheels Week, people are allowed to take wheel free of charge by any attorney that is legally practicing, that is authorized to practice in the country. We were just going on with basic important information that will guide you so that you utilize the advantage of this week. Our intention on our show today is that you don't miss utilizing this week. You don't let it go. You don't lose this opportunity. Grab the opportunity while it's available to you. After Friday, you'll have to pay money to draft a will. You only have today and Friday, and would love to help you as KNR, because we do radio according to you. You are back, Mtanam. Thank you very much. And you are more brighter, more beautiful when you are coming back again. Can well, your picture is appearing 2 times there, and come on, Anne, don't mess us up, and let me add you again. And yes, you are back again, but it's just that the light is not as it was. But you are bright. You are visible, and yes, now the light is on, and now you are very, very visible. Very visible. Yes, you can go on, Gendombi, from where we left Sinetemba. Just take us through on board. We were still on the subject of who is legally. And I think you have said that so well, that any South African citizen who is at an age of 16 and above, and who is sober-minded and understand, I'm trying to use my own paraphrasing, who is sober-minded and understand what he's doing when he takes a wheel, and so on. If you can just take us from that point in trying to explain what is a wheel and who is have a right to take a wheel and so on. Just continue with the question that I've asked, because I also have forgotten my questions.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dada. Sorry about the technical glitch earlier. So I was about to just before we got cut off, go through what actually makes a will, as in what makes a document a valid will. And there are 5 things that I'm very quickly going to go through, because from what I can tell, that I think we have 5 minutes left for this session.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm very quickly going to go through the 5 requirements that make a valid will. The first data is that a will must be signed at the end by the testator. This testator data is the person to whom the will belongs. So if it's
Oh,
my will, then I am the testator, right?
beautiful. I
It
like
must be signed by the testator or by any other person in his or her presence and by his or her direction. So what that caters for, that is for somebody who can't write. So if somebody can't write, they can still have a will, but it would then be signed by another person and at that person's direction.
sure.
And then the second requirement, data, is that the signature must be made by the testator or by the other person who signs in his or her capacity and by his or her direction, or must be acknowledged by the testator and such other person in the presence of 2 or more witnesses who are
Sure.
present at the same time. So one of the things that I've gone through in my practice, for instance, when I'm doing a will for a client, is that a lot of people say, oh, it's going to be so difficult for me to get the 2 people that I want to use as witnesses to be in the same room at the same time.
Sure.
It could be for various reasons that normally it's because practically it's just not going to happen because people have work and they have other things going on. And
Yeah.
this one is available at a certain time and the other one is available at another time. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, Dada, if the 2 witnesses are not there at the same time, then the will is actually not valid. They need
Oh,
to sign in the presence of the testator and in front of each other in order for the will to be valid. And
wow.
then, yeah. And so that's pretty
This
much okay, requirement number 3, Dada, as well. The
is
witnesses must, yes, Dada?
just what you have said very slowly and accurately. You say there must be the presence of 2 witnesses. That must be there on the day you are signing the will. You sign as the testator, whatever it is, and then there are these 2 other people who are your witness. They must be present with you
Yes.
on the day that the will is signed. My interest is are you, if let me say I'm doing this drafting of the will at the attorney's office, can I ask that particular attorney to be my witness and maybe another clerk who in that same office to be my witness? Is it possible that I do that, or must I bring the witnesses who are carefully chosen by me to be witnesses of me on the day I'm doing the will?
So that is the ideal would be to have your own witnesses, people that you know and trust,
Sure.
because in the event you pass away, the testator passes away, and now
Yeah.
we have to look at the validity of the will, and somebody is challenging it. It's going to be very difficult to trace the people who witnessed the will if you didn't know them and they just 2 people that you picked off the street.
Okay.
Whereas, yeah, whereas
That
if it's
was
people who are in your sort of circle or who, can be readily, available when needed, that's the ideal. But I
thank
mean, as far as, legally speaking, there's nothing that prohibits you from just getting 2 random people who are, at least 14
very
years of age or older, but
Mm.
it's not the ideal situation because in the event of the will being contested, we want to know that we can actually get those 2 people to come and
Yes,
testify to say, no, I was
yes,
there when the testator,
yes.
when this will was prepared.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And then another thing that another requirement is that if the will is more than 1 page, then each page, other than the last page which will have been signed, needs to be initialed by both the witnesses and the testator.
All right.
Yeah, and then also the last requirement, the fifth one is if a will is signed by the testator by the making of a mark or by some other person in the presence and by the direction of the testator, a commissioner of oaths has to certify that he or she has satisfied him or herself as to the identity of the testator and that
O-
the will so signed is the will of the testator.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah, so this is for instance where the testator can't write, but the testator makes an X.
Okay.
For example, because I know an X is normally, it's the common mark that is used where somebody cannot sign.
Not
So
right.
a commissioner of oaths would need to come and say, no, I am actually confirming that this X was made by the person to whom the will purportedly belongs.
Okay. Are there no instances or times when there is a need for a thumbprint, when somebody could, when people can write a thumb, they put their thumb and then a fingerprint is put in. Is it an X that's used, or maybe a fingerprinting or something like that?
That a thumbprint data can also be used, and under those circumstances, the Commissioner of Oaths would once again have to confirm that the thumbprint is the thumbprint of the testator, the
Okay.
supposed, testator. So any kind of mark that is made would have to be confirmed by a Commissioner of Oaths.
Commissioner of Oaths, yes.
Yes.
All right. All right. And we have just gone a minute of our time because our show ends at 8 o'clock. But I want to thank you for availing yourself, and I want to thank you also for the patience when we have got some bit of technical glitches on the program today. There are a number of things that have caused that. Number one, it has been the load shedding that we have experienced here. Number two, we have moved to the new beautiful premises. Our radio station have moved from where it was, the place that I think you know, to another place that's very cozy, nice and beautiful and safe and very spacious, and yeah, and then but also a lot of things have changed on the studio and so on. So I had to first acclimatize myself, and there was no one to take me on board and show me the ropes. I walked in and then I tried to get everything myself, and that has contributed to our getting technical glitches. And also I was delayed on the way from KZN to here. When I walked in, I was in a hurry, and when I'm in a hurry, I normally touch things in a hurry way, and then I miss doing things properly, and that is why I could not get you via your email. I tried my best, but it couldn't work. But I'm glad that patience prevailed, and then I could finally get hold of you. In those words, I say thank you very much. May God continue to put His hand upon you. May He cover you with more grace upon grace, and may His love shine upon you, and may you have a very good week ahead until we meet again next Sunday. Rest knowing that I love you with almost my heart and the aorta and the pulmonary vein and the other veins of my body. And I feel honored that I share this platform together with you, and that you are able to share your expertise freely, honestly, and sincerely to our listeners. God's grace upon your life till we meet next week, when we will get according to a kind of script and get to some more details and make our listeners be fully educated on the subject of wills, and then we will leave the idea after we've done our bit and we are satisfied that we've done our part, so that whoever tunes on KNR would know that this is a kind of a radio that bears such good information for the citizens of South Africa. Thank you very much, and Cherubai, pass my love to my grandchildren, and to your husband, my son, and tell everybody else that my love is always with you. When I'm there and when I'm not there, rest assured, when you touch the wind, my love is there.
Thank you very much, Dada. Dada, before I go, I know that a lot of the listeners want to take advantage of the Wills Week. Can I just give them the link where they can go to actually find out?
Please.
Yeah. So if the listeners go to LSSA,
I'm writing that here.
LSSA at LSSA.
LSSA.
Yes, Dada. Yes. At LSSA.
At LSSA.
.org.
.org.
.za.
.za.
Yes, they'll actually see, Dada, that there's a page on there, Epalwe 2022 Wills Week Attorneys. And
Yeah.
then the
Okay.
first one that we see
I'm writing
is
an instruction for all the people who will view our recording on StreamYard, so that they could see this message and be able to read it and so on. And say, please visit LSSA at lsassa.org.za, and then for
and then once they've done that, Dada, they'll see there's a page there, Epalwe 2022 Wills Week Attorneys.
okay,
And then it lists all the first one that you see, Ipalwe, Eastern Cape Attorneys. It's the very first one at the top.
Okay.
And then if the person clicks on there, then they're going to get a list of all the attorneys in their area that are participating in the National Wills Week.
Good. This is very helpful. They will get a list of attorneys, okay, in your area, so that you know whom to approach. Good, great.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it, Dada. And I can see, for instance, in East London, there are close to 20 attorneys participating. So, and that's just East London alone. So so they just need to phone, make an appointment, and get their free will.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dada.
And I think it's important for you.
No, there's nothing else, Dada. That was just the main thing, because I want everybody to take advantage of this. Okay, thank you, Dada.
Thank you very much. I've posted that. Yeah. Yes. Kitty has also managed to capture it properly. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dada. Bye.